At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Heather, Leaf Girl, Min, Jason, Madeline, Alyssa, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Kristen, and Tia. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we will be hanging out daily. Oh, wait. Let's not get right into it because I got to delete some stuff off the Zoom. We don't need our Exorcist 2 recording for any reason, right? No, surely not.
I am not recording that one again.
Natalie's almost done editing that episode. We won't have to record it again.
Thank God, because otherwise I would jump Gina first into a concrete lake. Because thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin on Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, and you guys make me watch them. And this week, Paige, after making us watch, I think, one of the worst probably sequels ever last week, making us watch possibly the best ever sequel I've ever seen in my life.
Todd.
Paige, I'm going to break some hearts with this episode. We watched New Nightmare. Technically Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and I feel like this is important because it does posit a world where James Cameron has a new nightmare because a new Jaws film hasn't come out, so like evil that is Jaws-esque is released upon the world.
Yeah, or Terminator.
Yeah, well that would be Cameron, right? Who did I say for Jaws?
I think you said Cameron for Jaws, which...
My bad.
Yeah.
I did not mean Cameron. Obviously, I meant Spielberg, clearly.
Yeah.
Which I will email him at steven@stevenspielgs.com and apologize.
Yeah, you got it. You'll make amends.
But Paige, so let me ask, when was the first time you saw this movie? Because obviously, like...
It was today.
Okay. I'm actually happy about that. Okay, great. I feel like the energy I'm reading from you, Paige, and maybe this is a misconception, but the energy I'm reading is that you were not a fan.
Yes.
I don't think that is a hot take for the record. I have not heard amazing things about this one.
But here's what I will say. From a premise standpoint, I understand why you would do something like this, where you're like, okay, we've done every Freddy movie we could do. Now we're going meta, and it's Freddy in the real world with the actors, and they are now having to fight the thing they fought in the movies. I don't think that's a bad idea. I legitimately don't. But I think if you do that, you really have to take it in a direction that is a little bit more Tulpa-esque. And I think that's what they were trying to do and failed to do. Because I think if you take it in a Tulpa direction that's like, this monster is created because we have all collectively as a society engaged in this art and now believe in them, and that's why they exist. And then tackle it that way.
That's not at all what it is, though. And I understand what you're saying.
That's not at all what it is.
Because that actually, I think, is a more interesting, nuanced look at like the way we deal as a society with horrible things.
And how we consume media.
Yes.
And so like in that context, I think you could do a movie like this and I would probably not dislike it. But unfortunately,
Paige,
that's not this movie.
I can tell you why they did that. And I don't know this, but you kind of know this. It's one of those things that you're like, well, if the premise is what Paige just described, then that means Wes Craven created Freddy from nothing and now has let that villain loose on the world.
Correct.
And at the time this movie was made, Wes Craven was still making them, was still alive, and there's no way Wes Craven was going to go on film and be like, hey, my bad for creating this societal evil that I will now be unleashing on the world. I do think maybe he owes us that or owed us that. But I actually do think like the thing he released was cool and people have loved it and it's made tons of money and there's nothing wrong with any of that. But I think your version makes it so instead of Wes Craven being able to see himself as a savior for humanity at his
Yeah,
keyboard,
exactly.
typing away, making the trap for Freddy or for the evil that Freddy becomes, right?
Right.
He can't see himself that way in your version. So of course it's going to be that he's just saving people.
I feel like in my version, it works better if it's not a real slasher. Like, my version works better if you invent a slasher to work within the world in which this movie exists, right?
Yeah.
But even if you want to do Nightmare on Elm Street that way, it takes an alarming amount of self-awareness as Wes Craven to be like, oh shit, what have I done? Like the guy in Terminator 2 that's like, I created Skynet, like that. And like, yeah, I'll help you fight him. And then like be in the rest of the movie as an actor. I think there's two problems with that. Number one, Wes Craven can't act. We know that. We saw this movie. The guy had one monologue and oh my God, is it interminable.
Should have been more than one. Honestly, I could have listened to that man talk about anything forever just because it was always insane. Paige, when he was talking,
It is crazy.
he was telling you that he knew definitively that he created a trap for evil and it saved the world. And then every 10 years, we got to release a new one. Heather, come on, knock it out. Like, let's sign up to be Nancy again. What are we doing?
It is the most savior complex nonsense
I know.
I've ever heard.
I loved it. It was awesome.
And to be honest, as opposed to reading like its own story about how monsters and media intersect and how we as a society engage with them, instead of that, we get essentially my movies are great, right? I know. You're going to love this one. But also, let me tell you how I really defeated Freddy. Even though I'm not really a character.
But that's Paige. Yes, that's what I was getting at. 100%.
Yes.
He defeated Freddy, not Nancy. I love that he like took that back for himself. And honestly, Wes, good for you. You did write it. Like, I get it. You did save us from this evil you created. Sure.
Yeah, sure. I did text Jake that I was watching this one, and he just texted back, oh no, that's when Wes Craven gets Scream pilled, which is crazy because Scream is like 2 years after this. But I feel like this is his initial idea and it doesn't work. And he's like, okay, but what if it's all horror movies? And then we get Scream,
Right.
which I do think is a lot better from that other perspective of like society's view and understanding of monsters.
Yeah, but let me actually put a finer point on it because I think we're kind of talking around it. So like, in case you haven't watched the movie, this movie posits a world where Wes Craven's writing of the first Nightmare on Elm Street
Correct.
trapped an evil in the story, like captured its essence, and thereby actually trapped the evil that was already existed and doing evil in the world, I guess.
Right.
And he has this power just because he's a great storyteller, which does posit that there are other storytellers that also have this power, which I loved because then I want to see like a story Avengers. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to write a story so scary that it captures aliens version evil or whatever, right?
Look, I'm not opposed. And honestly, maybe short films, because I don't want to watch full movies of any of this. But like people who have made famous movie monsters, who have created a famous villain, having to then fight their own creation, I am here for that.
Like Roger Stone, I'd watch that.
Right?
I'd watch that. Yeah.
Not this, though.
But also, here's the catch, Paige.
Yeah.
Once the evil is trapped, it does take it out of evil rotation in the world or whatever it is.
Right.
But after about a decade or so, like it can get out if we don't make another movie.
Right. It enforces the studio system.
It was like at that point, I was like, man, why can't Hollywood just like pay a woman what she's worth? Like, why do they think it's better to like gaslight her into saying yes to being in their next movie? Like, they put a lot of budget into gaslighting her in this
Convincing
movie.
Nancy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like they're bowfingering Heather Langenkamp in this movie. My God, they killed her. New Line killed her husband, Paige.
They killed her husband. These are the same people who were like, let's invent an AI one so we never have to ask permission again.
Hollywood's never been great with consent. Also,
Terrible.
if that premise is true, which why would Wes Craven lie to me? A24 better start making some batshit sequels to movies they made about 10 years ago, or Black Phillip gonna be wreaking havoc stateside.
Look, as head of the Black Phillip fan club, because I doss me want to live deliciously. Oh my God, my brain is mush after this movie. Don't you talk about Black Phillip like that. Keep Black Phillip's name out your mouth.
Paige, we got to make those buttons, the, what was it? Which Club President buttons, and then the thing on it should just be like Black Phillip.
Black Phillip. I feel like Black Phillip is Gourmet Food Club President. So just, what's thou like to live deliciously? Black Phillip, Gourmet Club President. We just need a series of Club President merch for all the various clubs.
I agree. Yeah.
Which Club President?
Band Club President.
Zombie Club, Fan Club. What was it? Witchcraft and Uzis?
Oh, yeah.
Witch Magic and Uzis. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Witch Magic and Uzis.
Yeah. Anyway, Paige, no joke, I kind of loved this movie. Although, candidly, I love campy meta shit. And this is campy meta shit. Although there was one moment that actually scared me, and it was when Freddy comes out of the closet and like scares her and she falls back over the recliner, because it's just like such a jump scary sting of a moment. So it got me. I wasn't like scared the whole movie.
Sure.
Like when Dylan's running across the street, I was like, there's no way they'd let anyone get hit. There's no way they'd let Dylan get hit by a car.
Right.
Heather, stand there and don't move real quick.
Yeah.
Man, that stunt though, whoever did it.
Incredible.
They literally just got hit with the car. Like the stunt is a lady or stunt man in a like wig getting hit by a car.
Here's the thing. I don't think I would call this camp.
Oh, no, it is meta.
It's meta.
I was just saying the people who like camp and like meta are very like, that's a pretty close Venn diagram.
Yes, I think what I needed, if this was going to be more successful from a meta perspective, is more defined lore like Scream. That's very defined, right? Or I needed funny, goofy Freddy, and that's missing from this movie.
We got some of that, but we didn't get a lot of that. You're right.
We got pick a pet for your kid or whatever it is, and that's it. Everything else is scary Freddy.
When he throws her into the snake room, he says, meet your maker. And then I wrote in my notes, does he think Heather Langenkamp is made of snakes?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
But there is a moment that I think was campy, and I will defend it until I die. There's like a moment when Freddy is like, I think they're still in the nightmare world, the upside down, whatever.
The Acropolis.
It's like a musical sting where you see his like shadow run across the wall.
Yeah.
And then the musical sting happens when his hand comes into frame, like the claw hand comes into frame.
Yes.
And it's like,
yes.
It's so funny. I did rewind it and make Natalie watch it, and she went, yeah, kinda.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
I thought it was hilarious, though.
You could cut an hour out of this movie and it would be tighter and maybe throw some jokes in it. And this is maybe not nearly as bad as people remember. And I guess portray earthquakes correctly. Like, that was a huge note for me.
Paige, the earthquakes, they're all over this movie, and it's concerning.
It's implied that Freddy's creating them by trying to, I guess, burst forth, but that's never fully established.
I did. Okay, so Paige, can I tell you what I wish they had done and they did not do? And honestly, people would have hated what I'm about to say. So no, I know that going in, it would have been just for me. Here's what I wanted. They set up Rex as Dylan's protector. Those of you who are not in the know, Rex is a Tyrannosaurus Rex stuffed animal, okay?
Yes, I loved Rex.
Who doesn't love Rex? Come on. Freddy does physically burst through the earth.
Right.
And he is 60 feet tall.
Wait, I think I know what you're about to propose and I'm on board.
And because of the child's love, Rex becomes a 60-foot tall Tyrannosaurus Rex.
That's what's up.
And he saves the city of Los Angeles, Morphin Power Ranger style.
Todd, I'm going to do you one better.
Please do.
Let's go one level further into this, into the La Brea fucking tar pits.
Oh my God.
A Los Angeles institution because of our tectonic abnormalities. And Rex is a dinosaur.
Yeah.
So if Freddy is bursting forth from under the ground into Los Angeles to become real, you know what should also fucking come?
Encino
a real
Man.
fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yes. You're right. No, you're right, Paige. I thought for a second Encino, but yes, you're right. Absolutely, you're right.
I'll also watch Brendan Fraser do anything. So yeah.
Yeah, same. Anyway, I know people would have hated that, but man, it would have fit and been silly and funny and like, people would have hated it though.
Sure.
Although it would have been funny.
I mean, you could have filmed it at the tar pits.
Yeah. You know, that place that we saw Mikey try to pick up a lady and she was there with her son.
Yeah, that was wild.
Paige, I have a question though, like just a follow up. How many sleeping pills did the doctor send Dylan home with?
Enough to kill his mom.
He literally makes a bread trail, like a breadcrumb trail of sleeping pills all over the house. And I just thought to myself, like, that's a lot of pills for a doctor to prescribe to a patient that just ran out of their hospital fully sedated.
Yeah, that's a lot of barbiturates for a child.
Oh, and he's 7.
Yeah.
Like, what? Paige, he didn't leave the hospital. He would not have been prescribed any pills. He left, he ran out.
He didn't stop at the pharmacy.
Right? Exactly. The doctor didn't chase him down to the parking lot like, hey, take all these pills with you. You'll need them for plot reasons in about 10 minutes. Where'd he get the pills?
I am of the opinion that maybe the pills aren't real. The movie is unclear on what's real and what's not. And she's just wandering around the house like, Dreamo chill. Just like Dreamo-silling her way into Freddy Land.
Paige, not before we get a very melodramatic moment that's sort of like, if Romeo and Juliet was about a mother and son, very non-sexual relationship, but it ended the same in like a suicide, more or less, or ended in her taking her own life?
Yes, where they find them dead of sleeping pill overdose in the real world, and everyone's like, Wes Craven, this is your fault.
You know, just like Romeo and Juliet, it's the same. Yeah, we all got it, Paige.
Yeah, the script is like overhead on them dead of overdose.
But it is like when Juliet wakes up and sees him dead, you know, and then like the things she says so the audience can like understand what she's going through internally. Like, so like Heather Langenkamp is like externally monologuing these things that she would really just be feeling internally.
Right.
And it felt like we were watching a Shakespeare play for a little bit, and that made me laugh because it was kind of fun. But she does, I guess, not kill herself. She takes enough to go to sleep and then save her son at the Parthenon. For some reason. Which I did not realize until it was over, honestly. When they were running out, I was like, holy shit, has this been the Parthenon the whole time?
Is Freddy Hercules?
That would explain Danny DeVito's involvement. Sorry, that's such a like a Hercules, the Disney cartoon joke.
I do love the Disney cartoon.
It's the best.
I love the Greek chorus is my favorite part of that movie. Best music.
Natalie and I sing parodies to that song when we're playing. We'll go outside and take Buttercup and we'll throw the ball back over the yard and she'll like run and chase it and bring it back and stuff. It's a lot of fun. She loves it. But like if she catches it a bunch, Natalie will start singing, bless my soul, Butter's on a roll.
Chasing all the balls and bringing them all balls home.
Yeah, and I pointed out, I was like, Butter, because we call her Butter for short all the time, and I pointed out Butter's on a roll is not necessarily novel.
That's
like
great.
That's something that's been around forever.
True, but it's also just a great phrase.
I know. I thought it was great. We still sing it. But I have to give Natalie credit. She came up with it.
Butter's on a roll. That's great.
I can't believe you didn't like it. I thought you would like it just from the storytelling aspect of it.
I would have if they'd told a good story.
Well, come on. You're holding them too high. Like, that's just too much for Wes Craven to handle.
It shouldn't be. Wes Craven has written good movies.
A ton of good movies. He was probably thinking about a good movie while making this movie, and that movie became Scream.
Right,
But I'm
right,
so
right,
glad
right.
we got this movie because it is crazy, but it might be my favorite nightmare.
Oh,
and I realize
no.
that is the wrong take, and I'm sorry for having it.
That's the absolute
Yes,
wrong
I
take
get
when
it.
Dream Warriors exist.
Oh,
Dream
fuck. How
Warriors!
dare I? That is fair. Honestly, Dream Warriors is better. You're right.
How dare you?
Paige, I thought it was an interesting casting choice to have Heather Langenkamp playing Heather Langenkamp. I just didn't find it believable. Like, I just didn't see her as, like, believable in that character.
Little hat on a hat.
No, I loved it. I thought it was amazing. When they started calling her Heather on screen, I was like, oh my God, is this like a real thing? Oh my God, are they doing this? And then Robert shows up and they're like, hey, Robert, how you doing? And I was like, hell yes.
I did love seeing Robert Englund just play himself.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also kind of spooky. Do you think he's dead at the end of this movie?
No.
The movie doesn't wrap it up for us.
No, Paige, I fully think at the end of this movie, Wes Craven and everyone else on the cast and crew are filming the next movie, and she doesn't know she's in it.
Truman Show style.
Well, Bowfinger style. I blame Steve Martin for ripping off the premise 3 years after this movie came out, or like 5 years after this movie came out for Bowfinger. But I do prefer this version. Like, I didn't hate Bowfinger, but this is a better version of it.
I disagree a lot. It's been a while since I've seen Bowfinger.
Paige, just know that I'm right, and please never watch Bowfinger again. Because then you'll know I'm wrong.
Yeah. I feel like I struggle because I am here for this kind of movie. Does that make sense? Like,
yes. I mean, Scream is this kind of movie.
it's just not done well, and so it's a slog to watch. It's just like, oh.
So I think the reason Scream, for me, doesn't land the meta as silly as this one lands is because this one sort of feels like the cast and crew were like, no, we're not doing any more movies unless you put everyone in the movie.
Yeah, fair.
Like, they go to New Line and we meet a secretary, we meet an assistant, and we meet the executive.
Yeah.
Like, these are people who I think might actually exist in the world. I mean, we meet Wes Craven.
They bring back the dad from the original Nightmare. And it feels like the kind of thing that you would film and show at a Christmas party. Like, at Cyberdyne Industries, we're all part of the problem or whatever. And they're like, yay!
Parks and Rec did this thing where they, like, as a bit, wrote a whole TV show pilot. And, like, it was just like the actors on set sort of, like, ad-libbing and just being silly to, like, pass the time. But the writers picked up on it and started writing this pilot. And then they eventually shot, it was sort of like a teaser trailer for something called Philly Justice, I think.
Yes.
And this feels like that, but got way out of hand.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, they just did a whole effing movie about it.
Yeah. And here's, okay, I can't decide if it's Philly Justice out of hand, which agreed and hilarious, or if it's Wes Craven just too on his own hype.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and it seems to reek of that, which also, on top of a movie that is paced bad, that doesn't have clear motivations or lore, that really kind of bungles any sort of metaphor, and doesn't give us any real action until the last 15 minutes. Like, with all of that, it also seems like it's him, like, stroking his own dick the whole time. No, please make it stop.
Paige, I don't understand why you feel like Wes Craven's just edging this whole movie. I mean, all he's doing is saying that he is one of the many saviors of the earth, Paige. Well, how is that narcissistic at all?
At that point in my notes, I just have, as a writer, gross.
I know, right? Yeah. I know. But, like, to me, it was so funny. I kind of, no joke, loved it. It's not scary. I don't think it's the best Nightmare, but man, I enjoyed it. I would definitely watch it again too. It's crazy.
I hope to never see it again.
It did kind of bum me out though that, like, Robert Englund, they make him show up to be interviewed on TV in the real world as Freddy, and that bummed me out a little bit. I was like, he's an actor. Can you just let him, like, talk about Freddy, what it was like behind? You had to have him come dressed in, like, hair and makeup as Freddy. It bummed me out. I'm not saying he has to show up Biff Whiff style and, like, be like, I'm not talking about Christmas.
I'm not talking about it.
But, like, let him be himself.
I am an actor. I'm not Santa Claus.
Rest in peace, Biff.
Real Billy Bob Thornton energy.
That is 100% Biff Whiff energy, by the way.
Yes.
And what you're referencing is when he wanted to do interviews with his band that he played bass in, because,
yes,
of course.
I'm convinced that that's what Biff Whiff is based on.
100%. I don't know that for sure, but it is that vibe at least.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I love it. It's great. Go watch that Billy Bob Thornton interview. It is uncomfortably hilarious.
It is bonkers. But I also doubly was bummed by this for Robert Englund because we almost never get to see Robert Englund just as an actor, and he is a good actor. And so, like, even in this, my favorite parts were when we actually did kind of get to see Robert Englund just being Robert Englund.
And he is slipping into what seems to be a Freddy-inspired delusion
psychosis.
or
Yes.
Psychosis is a good word for it.
Yes.
But they never stick that landing.
No.
Because, no, it is just Freddy, and she kills him in the upside down, so it's fine. Like, if she had killed Freddy and it was at her house, and it ended up being Robert Englund losing his mind, like, that is a more interesting, nuanced look at whatever. Like, that's way more interesting and nuanced than what actually happens.
A movie about a guy who played a slasher losing his mind and going on a killing spree to eventually be killed. Fascinating movie. Great movie. Bummer that they'd kill Robert Englund because it's real. Like, they wouldn't actually in real life, but, like, because of the meta of it, it would just be like, man, remember when Robert Englund killed a bunch of people?
Right?
Right. But if we found out that he was the one making the phone calls or he was the one sending the letters and he had just let the fandom of Freddy go to his head, fuck, that would be a good movie. Fuck, that movie is great. But we don't explore any of that. We see him kind of start to lose it. and nothing. They even touch on the whole, like, she's got a stalker, but eventually just turns out to be actually Freddy as opposed to like someone obsessed with Freddy. And there's a real life implication to what has happened. And this story's popularity has effectively made it real by our attention to it.
Right.
That's too nuanced and not where Wes Craven's the savior.
No, but they do touch on the stalker bit, but they don't like land it anywhere, which like I still liked the movie because it's crazy. Like it is just a crazy sort of very meta look at Freddy and what it's like to work on movies, which I kind of dig.
Cut 30 minutes out of it though. Like,
oh, you're only saying that because those 30 minutes are boring.
Yes.
But I kind of dug it.
There, you could cut 30 minutes of just Heather Langenkamp walking around looking scared, and you would have a tighter, better movie.
Definitely. But,
Yes.
Paige, one final thing before we get into it. And that is simply to say, I don't think I know which horror movie villain is the best, but I do think I know which horror movie villain is the best at cunnilingus.
You don't think it's that lady with the puppets?
Paige, he wraps his tongue around her head and then at the end splits it. I'm just saying, think about it. Anyway, maybe we should get through this movie scene by scene, Paige.
Yes. We open on somebody making the glove, kind of Terminator style, but like the knife glove, the whole thing. And then someone cuts off their own hand to put the glove on. Turns out it's a movie.
I do think it's important to point out that in this opening, because I'm pretty sure we've seen an opening similar to this in this franchise.
Yes.
In this one, the glove very much is full metal and does move on its own.
Yes.
Which I think plays into it's a radio controlled whatever on a movie set later. Obviously, it's not playing that way now. But for a second, I was like, holy shit, is there going to be a whole Freddy movie where the hand operates independently, like an idle hands Freddy movie? That would have been insane.
What a wild offshoot. That would be a crazy direction for a nightmare movie.
Someone call Robert Englund. I want to know if he's on board to do one last rodeo with Freddy, but Freddy's only in the hand. And it's him it's trying to kill.
Here's the scariest part of like a Robert Englund sentient glove knife hand.
Right.
Fits under pillows.
That it does, Paige.
It's portable.
You can definitely hide it from your parents. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gross.
Just bedside table. Anyway, they yell cut. It's a movie. It's two special effects guys working on the hand, and Chase, who we will find out is Heather Langenkamp's husband, and their son, Dylan.
You might say those two guys have a hand job, Paige.
Yeah.
They have a job it's a hand job. Yeah.
How dare you? They have a hand career. But some blood has gotten into the servos of the hand and they're trying to fix it, but it malfunctions. Or is it haunted? Because it chases them all around the set, killing the two special effects guys that work on it, slicing her husband's hands, scaring her child, causing chaos on the set. And then she wakes up to an earthquake.
Paige, a few things about all of that you just said. Watching Freddy's hand, that is now more or less like an anorexic The Thing,
Right.
Run around stabbing people.
Yeah.
No notes on that. That shit was
Didn't hate
hilarious. It was like spider
not hate
walking
it.
across the floor, and I loved every spider walked second of it.
It's a lot of stop motion animation too, and it's done really well.
It is.
At this point in the movie, I was like, fuck yes.
Oh, you're only saying that because later in the movie, a lot of things look terrible. But Paige,
Oh my God, yes.
when she woke up out of this nightmare dream into an earthquake,
Yes.
I would have lost my mind. Like, I don't know. Having a nightmare and then waking up to my earth quaking would be quite a state. I would be so scared. For you, it would be a Tuesday.
Yes. This is what I was going to get into. I was like, we got to talk about earthquakes in general for a moment.
Right.
But also this specific earthquake and why there are so many earthquakes in this movie that are also portrayed bonkers on screen and not at all the way earthquakes work, which is weird because all these people live in California.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all know better.
I think we're at some of their actual houses. I don't think Wes Craven ever left his house.
Yeah, he was like, just come in, shoot me in one shot because literally the camera doesn't move once he sits on that couch.
Paige, it's because he hated it. He hated being in front of I don't know any of this, but if it was me,
Why'd he write it?
I would have hated being in front of the camera so much, I would have gotten one and done. I'd have been like, that's the shot. We're using it. I hate it. We're going home.
I would have hired a double. I would have hired someone else to do it, like a fancier, more attractive version of me. like when they did the 30 Rock Live episode and they bring Julia Louis-Dreyfus in to occasionally be Liz Lemon, when she has to be in two places at once.
The live episode, they did it just because they wanted to do a cutaway of Liz.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, shit. That's such a funny bit. Like, okay, so if I wrote a movie and had to cast myself in it, who would I pick to play me?
Yeah, who would you pick?
He's probably a little too old.
Doesn't matter.
Martin Short.
That I think is actually a very good choice and would actually be a very funny choice.
Yeah. Think about like Martin Short, as old as he is now. We're not that far off.
Right.
And just his character in like Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah, where he's just only eats dips.
Yes.
There's a lot of things about that character that I'm like, is this what I'm going to be like when I'm old?
If you gave me a shitload of money and a lot of really crazy house coats,
Yes.
I think I might just end up that way.
Yeah. I'm going to say brunette Jennifer Coolidge.
I also think a little too old, obviously, but
Don't care.
I agree and I love it.
I love it. Because my favorite part would be her being like, I'm only 37, but then just like podcasting makes me want a hot dog real bad.
7 a day?
A day? Is that high? Or a little bit. Okay, earthquakes. So this movie was in production during the Northridge quake. So it happened while they were filming the movie. And that's one of the last like really bad ones we've had in Southern California. But most stuff in California is retrofitted to the point where like even when we have bad ones, it's not much happens, right?
Yeah, because your like building codes are up to code or whatever, you know?
Yeah, we try.
Yeah.
Let me put it to you this way. Ow, damn it. Fuck. Sorry. That's
What is happening? Let me put it to you this way, you dumb fuck bitch face.
Motherfucker. I smacked my elbow on a table.
Sure. I'm just going to cry.
Let me put it to you this way. My house is 70 years old and yeah, it's still standing. Not much has happened. And my house is within the impact zone for that earthquake. It's really not that far from where we live now.
It seems fine over there.
Yeah.
I think this movie was made less than 70 years ago.
Way less. Now, here's the thing. I did not live in Southern California in 94 when that quake hit, but I did live in Northern California in 89 when that quake hit. Also a really bad one. And the quake happens. She wakes up. They run out of their bedroom to their child's room, and then they just huddle on the bed. They don't take any cover. They don't take any precautions. They don't stand in a doorway. They don't try to get outside. And I realize that for a lot of you listening, you don't live in California or you don't live in an earthquake place. Let's put it that way. So you might not know, but like, earthquakes come with little to no warning unless you have a cat. Cats can sense them for some reason. No one can explain it, but they can.
It's because this is a scientific I'm surprised you don't know this.
Yes,
Paige.
yeah.
So the scientific fact behind this is the only way you can is because cats and Heather Langenkamp get migraines just before it happens.
Yeah. In this movie, Heather Langenkamp gets a migraine just before it happens. And also, for some reason, and I screamed at the screen when it happened, in this movie, the wind blows before an earthquake, which I thought was fucking unhinged.
Paige, I would be scared too. If I was the wind, I'd be running around trying to figure out what safe place to stand.
Trying to get away. Because earthquakes, the wind doesn't blow. You don't have warning. It just happens. But the main thing to do is like when the actual earthquake is happening, which only lasts for like a minute at most, usually.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get in a doorway because the way doors are built in most houses, it's unlikely that things will fall on you. And those are the things that usually stay standing. They don't do that despite having lived in California their entire lives, I would assume.
Or at least long enough to know.
The other thing you can do is get under a table or something. So if things fall, they hit the table and not you.
Yeah.
And as kids, we're supposed to get under our desks, right? Or go the fuck outside, man.
Yeah.
They never do. No one ever does any of the protection things for earthquakes ever at all. They just ride it out in the worst places imaginable with tons of shelves that are just itching to fall on them. And like the other thing too is that like that earthquake happens in this scene. And then later it's like a 5.8 earthquake. And I was like, we don't even get out of bed for that. Like, what are you doing? 5.8? Like the worst one we've had recently that I experienced was a 6.1 and some of my DVDs fell over. We will rebuild.
Yeah. like a lawn chair is falling over.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's what they're dealing with in the movie. And her husband cut his finger in her dream and also
Yes.
maybe by the earthquake. You don't know, right?
You don't know, right?
You know.
And then they proceed to have like 4 or 5 within that same day earthquake seemingly events, which, by the way, as depicted in this movie, each one of those quakes, we have maybe one of those every 3 years.
But Freddy's not always trying to get out, Paige. We have to live within the realm of
I know.
existing.
It's Freddy. It's not real.
Yes.
And we reveal later that they basically have only had the one big quake and everything else has been in Nancy's mind.
Right.
Heather's mind. Anyway, they intercut this news report with real earthquake footage from the Northridge quake.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
I mean, that makes sense.
So when they're like the parking structure at Cal State Northridge, like that's a real thing. That's real footage.
Oh, cool.
That was a real problem at the time. And like a freeway overpass collapsed and like a whole bunch of stuff. But we basically, as they're kind of getting up and getting ready, we find out that Chase, her husband, is going to go away on a job because he works in FX. And Heather is supposed to go in for an interview.
The amount of selling he does about what he'll be doing in Palm Springs, his exposition was so full of detail. I was like, oh, he's cheating on her. Because he says this: I could survive 2 days in Palm Springs supplying soap bubbles for a detergent commercial. Like, that is a rehearsed line.
Here's what's funny, though. When we do see him leave that job site, that is what they were doing.
I know.
You see the bucket of soap.
It's crazy. I was wrong. I was just like, oh, wow. He was just going to do that and thought okay, interesting, great.
Yep.
Mr. Monopoly here. Monopoly is back at McDonald's. Register in the McDonald's app so you're ready to get your bag. 2 ways to peel for a chance to get your bag. Physical peels with select items and digital peels with others to get your bag. Play Monopoly at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
No purchase necessary. See rules at playatmcd.com for full details and amoe.playatmcd.com to play without purchase. Ends November 23rd, but bonus play ends November 2nd. Monopoly is a registered trademark of Hasbro. Copyright McDonald's.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
But they're also waiting for Julie, the babysitter, to show up, which, by the way, when Julie showed up at the hospital, I was like, if that's not Freddy in a Julie suit, then I'm a monkey's uncle. And unfortunately, give me a banana, because that was not what was happening.
It was not. I also did think it was kind of a dick move to because clearly something's happening. Like, Freddy's back or something's happening, right? And you're going to leave your child, Dylan, with a babysitter who clearly is not trained to be able to fight off Freddy.
Right.
But don't worry about it. Actually, she ends up being kind of a badass. Like, I kind of loved her by the end of the movie. Was very sad she died.
Anyway, he takes off. He goes, and now granted, she does tell him the dream first and was like, these two guys that you work with got hurt, you got cut, and he is kind of creepy about it where he's like, on these 2 fingers. But she does let him go. He takes off for the job site. But right as he takes off, the phone rings and it's 1-2, Freddy's coming for you. And she freaks the fuck out.
Yeah.
But Chase is already gone. She comes back into the kitchen and there is, at least in her world, another earthquake where they have an enclume rack of pots and pans above her and they still don't go the fuck outside. She's literally running distance from the door. She should have run for the door.
She should have, yes. Yeah.
She should have, except that there was no earthquake. And we know because who shows up but Julia, the babysitter, who's like,
right.
What earthquake? What are you talking about?
Yeah. All the earthquakes are in her head. That's why, it doesn't matter how many California normally gets, ultimately, because they're not getting a lot more now.
They're not getting it.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's like, hey, does my son feel kind of warm? She's like, no, he seems okay, but you seem a little not okay.
Right.
The phone rings and she's like, stop fucking calling here. And he's like, I'm the limo driver. And she's like, oh my God. And instead of saying sorry into the phone,
Paige,
she runs outside to yell sorry at the limo with closed windows.
and then comes back to hang up on him.
Yes.
It's an unhinged scene. I have no idea what was happening because she does exactly what you just said. Because she could have, like you said, just been like, oh, Sorry, my bad.
Oopsies.
But she sets the phone down, then runs to the door, opens it, yells at a closed window of a limo that's probably 30 feet away. He didn't hear shit.
Right.
And then she came back and hung up on him.
Right.
It's fine. When we meet him in a second, he's over it and pervy.
Yeah. But she comes back inside and she's like, all right, I got to go to work, but I'm kind of not feeling great. Dylan, are you okay? And Dylan is like, you should stay home then. And he looks fully ass, like third day of the Ring videotape haunted.
Yeah.
Like creepy.
It's fine. We should leave. We can definitely leave him with Julie. It's fine. He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. I got to go do my contractually obligated interview so that they keep paying my residuals. Okay, bye.
Yep.
Which, when they offered her the movie after her husband died, I was like, bitch, you got to take that because I don't know what life insurance he had.
I don't mean to talk bad. I don't think he was the breadwinner. I'm sure he made good money.
Yeah.
I don't think he was the breadwinner.
No, but I also don't think that she had enough to maintain their lifestyle
Maybe.
on her own.
I don't know.
It's established that he has his own special effects company.
Yeah, I think he made good money.
And that independent of her was working for New Line and other things. So like he was bringing in some bread. I don't know if it was the whole loaf or if it was the dinner rolls, but he was bringing some bread home.
Either way, butter's on a roll.
Yeah, either way, butter's on a roll. You might want to lock down that back end deal, Nancy. So anyway, she gets in the limo. And this is every person that's ever been in a cult classic movie's nightmare of being trapped in an Uber or a limo with a fan.
This is exactly like this has never happened to me, obviously, because I'm not famous, but like I would imagine that there are people who are like low level famous that this will happen to and it'll freak them out, you know? I've been recognized outside of Ubers. The thing that makes it less weird is I'm not stuck in your car, you know?
Yes.
Like I got stopped at Disney once. Well, actually, it's happened twice at Disney. And I took a picture with somebody. They were super awesome. We talked for like 3 minutes and they walked away.
Perfect. Great interaction.
I'm not trapped in their car while they take me to the airport, you know? It sucks. I feel so bad for her in this moment.
Yes. I have had a couple situations where I've been like cornered, where you can't easily get away and you have to come up with an excuse to be like, hey, it was so nice talking to you. Glad to meet you.
I'm sorry. I just shit my pants. I gotta go.
So bad. Yeah. And it usually is like, I have had to pee for like 20 minutes. And so first of all, thank you. If I have ever said I had to pee and you were like, oh my God, yeah, thank you. Go ahead. Thank you. You're doing the best because sometimes people do not pay attention to
like
you
that.
when you say you have to pee and they're like, oh yeah, just one more thing. And you're like, I am going to pee in my pants. But yeah, in a car, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And she's not engaging in the conversation and he won't leave it alone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, she rolls up the screen on him.
Yeah. It'd be one thing if she was like, oh, I'm glad you like the movie. Let's talk about it. She clearly doesn't want to talk. And he just keeps it going. But so she shows up on the Warner lot for whatever show this is supposed to be. And they're basically interviewing her like, it's the 10th anniversary of Nightmare on Elm Street. Has your kid watched the movie? Which I find is a question that a lot of people ask people who make horror movies. And I was like, well, do you ask that to everybody? For all the kinds of movies they make?
I don't necessarily think you need to for all the kind of movies they make, because some movies are kid movies.
Sure, but like...
I do understand the distinction, but like they also like in horror movies typically show some like a lot of body horror and stuff. And I think every parent sort of gets to like draw the line on where their kid's allowed to watch that.
Yeah.
And I do think it's interesting. I would be interested to know what people who act in those films do for their kids, but also have no judgment over that because I don't have kids. So like my opinion matters nothing in all of that.
But when was the last time you saw somebody who was in like 365 or 50 Shades or something had answer the question, have your kids seen it?
You don't think I'm more interested to know if Massimo lets his kids watch when he kidnaps a woman and tries to marry her in 365? I would love to know if he's going to let his kids watch that.
This is what I'm saying. Is that worse than a horror movie? I would love to know that. No, they always ask them if their parents have seen it, which I think is really interesting of like, you should be ashamed. Have your parents seen this? Versus you should be ashamed. I hope you didn't show your kids. But either one implies a judgment call on the part of the interviewer.
That is a very interesting distinction. And it sounds like, I don't know, like it's very circumstantial because I don't know everybody who's been asked these questions who have also been in those kinds of movies.
Yes.
But that's super interesting. And I do think shitty on either side of it. But I do think I would ask.
I'm curious.
Yeah. So like, I don't give a shit. Like I don't care what you decided. It's just interesting to me to know, hey, when do you think you're going to let your kid watch you act in this horror movie? To me, it's like, I wonder when Will Ferrell let his kids watch some of his movies.
Sure.
Because that has to be weird. It has to be a weird experience.
Yes.
So to me, it's almost not even about the horror part of it. It's like, when do you introduce your kids to the fact that you're kind of, Will Ferrell's a movie star, and Heather Langenkamp in this movie is positioned as like a rising star. Like, she is not at the top of the game, but she is working and doing well in the industry.
Right.
So like, when do you introduce your kids to that? That's interesting to me.
So my sister has said that she will play podcasts around the baby because she thinks it's fine for the baby to hear my voice and it doesn't understand context. And she's like, once that kid learns to talk, we're going to have to not do that. I was like, sure.
I do think, unfortunately, because of distance, it is the only way that baby's going to hear Uncle Todd's voice. Yeah,
Right.
I think that's great. I appreciate your sister doing that for me.
Yeah, I mean, you should think about finishing your paperwork, maybe, but
I've resubmitted that shit so many times.
it's the wrong form. It actually needs to be a 432B, but you can only download it online, and then you have to print it out and then bring it in and then fill it out in the presence of a second party.
Is there a place that you can download things that isn't online? I'm just asking for a friend, really.
It's more just this file cabinet that we have where it's in the bottom file cabinet where it's like down low.
Yeah, when I said online, I meant it's on our clothesline outside. You have to come here, grab it, and then fill it out, and then hand it in.
Yeah. Anyway, they do also ask, would you let Robert Englund be alone with your son? Which I thought was a bonkers question because he's just a regular ass actor that doesn't have any negations.
Paige.
So like, what?
They make him come in dressed as Freddy. I was so bummed out, honestly. I felt bad for Robert Englund. Although I bet the actor loved this movie because he gets to kind of be out of makeup some and sort of be an actor, you know, and he does a great job in it.
Yep. But we cut to immediately after the interview where he's out of makeup and Heather Langenkamp is like, hey, I'm about to head out. And he's like, I'll walk you out to your car. And they have a conversation that's like, hey, they're friends and have been friends for a long time. And it's kind of nice to just see them interacting.
Paige, I thought that this sets up a little bit of a creepy plot for Robert Englund's character because in the moment it played like a joke. Like he was talking about, hey, we should do that other movie together.
Yes.
And it's like a rom-com kind of a thing. And then he's like, yeah, but you know, it still has a few beheadings or whatever. You know, to me, it played like a joke, right?
What's a love story without a decapitation or two is what he said.
It plays like a joke. It's great. It does seem like it's amongst friends. And then her husband dies. And I was like, hang on a second. How much control does Robert have over Freddy?
Hey, how many decapitations is this?
Right?
Is it one? Is it two? But she gets a call from New Line and they're like, hey, come by the office. We got an offer for you. This side quest in the movie, I understand why it's here because of the story, is so bonkers and takes so long and is so insider industry specific that I was just like, why are we doing this? Like, the script could already be at her house. Like, why are we going to take a 15-minute detour of this movie to visit the New Line offices?
Yeah.
And also, it's definitely because they're like, New Line owns Freddy now. Like, It's so weird because she goes to the office. They're like, I'm sorry, do you have an appointment? If you don't have an appointment, oh, wait, Heather Langenkamp? Yeah, you can go right this way. It's this whole thing. And then she gets into the office and he's like, hey, first of all, on the phone to a guy, he's like, risotto con tartufi. And I was like, delicious. I'm so hungry. That sounds great. But he's like, we want you in a new Nightmare movie. And she's like, well, I thought Wes wanted to stop doing horror and whatever. And he's like, no, he's right in the middle of the script right now. He's having nightmares again or whatever. And she has this question of like, hey, has anything weird happened? And in this conversation, he reveals her husband has been secretly working on the prototype for the new glove for months.
Yeah.
Months. And Wes has been working on the script for months. The whole time that she has been having these episodes and like the calls and whatever. Essentially, her husband and Wes Craven have been doing what I will call chaos magic of intention to bring forth Freddy into our realm.
They've definitely been effing around with the left-hand path for sure.
It is the left hand.
Yeah, it is.
Like the glove.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why the joke works even better, Paige.
Even better. For a second, I was like, is it the right or the left? I'm bad at rights and left. It's the left.
Paige is like dyslexic, but for hands.
Yeah, it is part of my ADHD that I do not understand rights and lefts and have never been able to. and people are like, how do you drive? And I'm a landmark driver. So I'm driving towards or away from things is how I manage driving for the most part.
Here's how I do it, Paige, because also ADHD. If you hold up your fingers.
I don't know which way L's go.
Dyslexia. Hello. Yeah. So okay. Fair. This trick isn't going to work for you.
No. And I don't know why. Like, I look at them and I was like, those both kind of look like L's. So it's
because they do both kind of look like L's. One of them just happens to be the only one.
Right. But to me, I'm like, probably this one.
So what you're saying is if your right hand was just the L hand's evil twin and had the gun,
exactly,
you'd probably shoot the evil twin.
Hopefully.
If he was like, no, I'm the actual L.
Anyway, so they answer the phone in the office and it's just somebody calling about another movie thing.
Yeah.
But we cut back to her getting home after that meeting. She arrives home just as Dylan is having what I would say is a seizure. They should have taken him probably to the hospital after this.
I think they do a pretty decent job of explaining why, because she has a close family member that passed away in what is described as an asylum. So like, I think she's afraid of what it could mean if she takes him in, you know, for that kind of thing. But I agree with you. Like, that is where they should have gone. I kind of understand why it didn't happen, because there's like, she would have to like accept what is happening in their life. And that's hard.
Yeah. And as he's having a seizure, he's screaming, never sleep again. And so Heather is like, hey, did you let him watch one of my movies? Because I've been actively trying not to do that. He's too young for that.
Yeah.
And Julie's like, no, he didn't watch the TV at all. But this is where we get the introduction of Rex, which I wish they had brought through as more of like a follow through later of like as a protector. But he's like, Rex saved me, and there's slashes through Rex.
Yeah.
So they have to take Rex to the kitchen, stitch him up,
perform that operation.
And they do it with red. So it looks like he's got like scars, which is actually kind of cool.
I thought for a second that is how we were going to definitively know that was Rex when he was fighting 60-foot Freddy at the end, because the dinosaur would have those red marks on his side.
Absolutely. But she calls her husband and is like, hey, you got to come home. Something happened with the kid or whatever. And he's like, I can't because the other two guys didn't come in today. And I'm like, wellness check, brother. Like, what? What do you mean your entire staff missed a shoot? That don't happen.
That doesn't happen. But he's like, it's fine. They're assholes or whatever he says. Meanwhile, those guys are dead. They've been dead for a few days, or a day at least.
Oh, that morning. I would say they died that morning.
Yeah, it was that morning. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like, all right, I'll drive home. I'll be home in about 3 hours. And as he leaves, the glove disappears.
Right.
We don't know where it is.
Well.
But as he leaves and walks by, we see the bucket of soapy suds for whatever actual commercial they were making. We cut back to Heather Langenkamp's house, where she is basically reading the story of Hansel and Gretel to Dylan. And this is where the introduction of the breadcrumbs comes in. And this is where he tells her that Rex is basically his guard against the mean man with the claws. And you should have a guard too.
Yeah.
Because it's different when you're gone. And she's like, don't worry about that. There's no monster under your bed. Daddy's on his way. And he's like, will you find the breadcrumbs? And she's like, of course, if the birds don't eat them first. But we cut to their dad on the way home, and he's falling asleep at the wheel. And there's like not a lot of cell service, not a lot of radio service. This is where I think the effects are the worst in this movie.
Yeah, they're not great.
It's like bad green screen. The claws up through the seat of the car. He falls asleep. It gets him in the chest. The truck veers off the road and crashes.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like Freddy's hand in the bath, but for a guy who's just driving and falling asleep as he's driving. Like, that's like the kind of moment it is.
Right. But car crash, the police show up at Nancy's house. That the doorbell wakes her up. He's dead. We get a cool contra zoom, and she demands to go see his body at the morgue. She goes to the morgue and is like, I want to see the whole thing. Pull that sheet all the way down. I need one last look at them abs. But this is where she sees the claw marks across his chest.
Paige, I thought it was nuts. First, that they just let her walk into this morgue like they were just working.
Yeah.
There was no receptionist. Also, he didn't ask for any sort of credentials that she was related to the person that she asked to see.
Not at all. Or ID.
Yeah, any of that. So, like, do they just let people cruise in off the street into morgues to see dead bodies? Because I wouldn't want to, but I'm afraid there are people who would do that.
Not now, 29 years in the future, for sure. No. Or I guess 30, huh?
I mean, normally I'd imagine now you would have like someone who works for the police department sort of walking you through the process of identifying that.
Yes.
I've never done it, obviously, but there are people whose that's their job.
It's also in like a private room, usually.
Sure.
Or sometimes it's behind glass.
They don't like walk you up to the slab.
Come on up to the slab.
Exactly.
They do not. Anyway, we cut to the funeral. And this is my craziest earthquake. Although we will reveal that this maybe didn't happen and she maybe just tripped.
I do think it maybe is just an earthquake because John later on says, when she says, I was in the coffin, he was like, yeah, but you weren't really there. Like he was there to see it because he was at the funeral.
Right.
So my assumption is that like she was asleep at her husband's funeral, which is not great.
Yeah.
But she's not sleeping a lot. She got a lot going on.
But the way they portray this earthquake is, first of all, the wind picks up like a tornado, and then the earthquake happens.
You know, like earthquakes happen.
As if the wind was the warning, right?
Yeah.
Right. I was like, what? But then, my favorite part, we get a real life coffin flop.
Paige, coffin flop is probably my favorite. I think you should leave sketches.
Body after body falling out of shit wood and hitting pavement.
I waited a long time for a hit on Corncob TV, Paige. Guys, if you haven't seen the coffin flop sketch, watch it. It's crazy.
We can show them nude because they got no souls.
What? It's insane.
Yeah, full coffin flop. And Freddie tries to drag them into the ground, but it's a dream. She wakes up and she has fallen and basically hit her head on the bars around the coffin that lower it into the ground.
Yeah, it's to keep grieving spouses from jumping in.
Wait, is that really why?
No, Paige, that's clearly a joke, but like that is a trope in movies.
Yes.
Honestly, it may not even always have been the spouse. Sometimes it's like a sad mom of a child that died or whatever.
Sure.
Like going in, and people grieve in different ways.
Yes.
I have never even like considered that might happen at a funeral I've been to. Like that seems so over the bereavement edge. Like it's a lot to do.
Okay. So I did, a handful of students died while I was in high school, and I did go to one of their funerals, and their mom collapsed at the front of the church.
Very different. I've seen that, of course.
Yeah, it's one of the saddest things I've ever seen, right?
That was my mom. Yeah, I've seen that. Like that is not getting up and jumping in to where the coffin is laid to rest. So here's my question. That's a myth of Hollywood, right? Like, has anyone ever done that? Get on it, nerds. Tell me. Someone look that up.
As far as I know, that's a movie trope.
Yeah, that to me feels like one of those myths of Hollywood kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong. And listen, if I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, please provide me with proof that I'm wrong. Like in the Discord, in Facebook, just let me know.
Anyway, she gets up. And now if the rest of this movie had been a Jacob's Ladder scenario because she had a head injury from this scene, love it.
Yes, Paige.
Yes. But we cut back to the house where they are trying to sleep, but Dylan is up sleepwalking and watching the original Nightmare. And he's singing the like, can't sleep, can't sleep, can't sleep. And he's like walking in a circle with Rex.
It's almost like he has drawn something on the floor in a circle shape.
Right.
We don't ever see it. Like I thought that there would have been like a pentagram or something, or like, you know, some kind of like witchy, spooky iconography that he was walking around.
Right.
But he is just walking in a circle with Rex in his arms.
Well, and it's very poltergeist.
That's why I thought it was, yeah, I agree. 100%, I agree.
Yeah. Very, we expect him to be like, they're here. But instead, he's like, he's trying to get into our world. Nosebleed. So instead of being like, hey, it seems like my son might have a tumor or something, it's not a tumor. It's a ghost. But like with the nosebleed and the seizures and take him to a medical professional.
They do eventually, and that medical professional gives that running child who's leaving their facility more sleeping pills.
Just bags of sleeping pills.
Just like staples it to his shirt, I guess. Like he's 7 years old and you're giving this guy 70 pills?
With a note and then one of those little flags like, take sleeping pills home to mommy. Okay. Is this an onion? Yay. Like that.
What TV show is that? I know what you're referencing. It's like a Japanese TV show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't remember the title, but multiple times when I was recently in Japan, we just saw children walking around doing errands.
That's so funny. I've seen that. Yes. If you know what show Paige is talking about, let me know. Because I've seen that show too when I was there.
Anyway, so she brings him into her bed, and this is where they have a conversation where she, I would say, does not articulate the nuance of death well to her child, which I know is a very difficult conversation. But you got to be careful the way you talk to kids about death, even if you do have a religious affiliation, because it can cause misunderstandings, which is what happens in this movie.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I don't necessarily think what she does is terrible, but I do think it shows how religions were invented. And then she eventually does say on the third question, I honestly don't know. And I was like, oh man, look, honesty. That's great.
Yes.
And then she gets blamed for what he does next. And this child sleepwalks, is sort of possessed by Freddy at one point.
Right.
I don't think that what she does in this moment at all led to him getting on top of that thing at the playground.
No, it is not her fault at all. And it's especially because this child is extremely sleep deprived, as we will find out.
Right.
But I do think it is in part some of his misunderstanding of this conversation that prompts the action.
Fair, yeah.
I don't think there's blame in that. No one could, expect a child to do that. But because he's like, where's daddy? Daddy's in heaven. Do you have to die to see God? And she's like, no, I just think you have to pray. Now, none of that is bad to say necessarily.
Right.
But the kid takes that a little far, because we cut to the next day where she's at the park with the guy who played her dad in the first Nightmare movie. And while they're talking, Dylan climbs to basically the tallest thing in the playground and is reaching out to pray to hopefully see his dad. I don't think he's attempting suicide or anything.
No.
I think he's just God is up, and so I'm trying to get as close up so he'll hear me or whatever,
right.
Child brain,
It's a good thing that he's not doing this precarious thing in an area prone to earthquakes.
Yeah.
But don't worry, it's actually not an earthquake. It's just because this kid's got shitty balance or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's 7. That's not his fault.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you. Heather Langenkamp's 0 to 60. I don't know what you would call that. But her sprint, run, catch, I was like, oh,
yeah,
clutch. That was very clutch, guys.
It probably, if this was real life, her arm would probably be broken.
Probably, or dislocated or whatever, because she would have eaten up a lot of that inertia that he was coming in with.
Yeah.
And he probably would have been injured too. Not dead, but injured. And the other side of that is probably dead. If she had not gotten there, probably dead, at least broken legs.
Yeah, at least broken limbs of some sort.
Right. But no, he's legit fine. In fact, this is not an issue ever in the movie after this.
Not at all.
It's just a scary moment. And I was a little scared.
Sure. Now, as they were talking before he fell, this is where we get the info that she's kind of afraid to bring him to a specialist or a doctor because she has someone in her family that she was close to that was in an asylum and was worried that that would happen to her or him. But so she catches him. We cut home. I assume the same day or the next day or so. She's getting the mail and gets a letter in the mail from her stalker and then adds it to a drawer of burned letters that we haven't heard about at all before now.
Yeah, no one's even spoken about them in dialogue. And if I had a note drawer and those notes were creepy as shit, I'd be talking about it all the time. I did think it was funny that it's a big E that's burned into the paper or whatever. And
give me an E! E!
I did think it was very funny though, because I was like, oh, of course, Fred E. Krueger.
E.
And then I was like, no, that's not right, because it's definitely Freddy Krueger.
Fred Entertainment Krueger.
It does remind me of a David Spade joke where he was talking about how he broke up with a girl. It was 1995 or whatever. I don't know. It was a long time ago. And he was talking about how he broke up with her and she sent him a fax as a response. And it said 1 of 7 coming through. And the first one just had a big F on it. And it was honestly my favorite joke of his.
That's great.
I mean, the joke was very self-deprecative because it was very much she got the best of me in that moment. I've got 7 of these long, loud fax machines coming through at 3 a.m.
Do you want to hear the craziest breakup story that I have ever heard?
Yes. Always.
Okay. I was on a comedy show and a comedian named Jake Flores, check him out on Instagram, super funny. He was in a polyamorous relationship and one of the people in that polyamorous relationship started up a pen pal situation with who? Luigi Mangione. And then broke up with him because she wanted to pursue the long distance pen pal relationship with Luigi Mangione.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just for clarification purposes, that Luigi Mangione?
The one and the same. Eyebrows himself. The man that was definitely at the Olive Garden eating breadsticks with me when that CEO got killed. Like, he was nowhere near it.
When you're here, you're an assassin.
Exactly.
That is insane.
Yeah. I was like, is that real or are you just saying this on stage? He was like, no, that is real. That really happened.
My question would be, is that really happening, though? And I'm only saying this, like, I'm sure he's getting tons of mail.
Yeah, here's what I think happened. Here's my guess. And hearing Jake talk about it on stage, incredible. I'm sure there's videos of it online.
I'm definitely going to look it up. What was his name again?
Jake Flores.
Okay.
But I think that Luigi is just answering fan mail. I think she wrote him a letter and then he answered back, thanks for all the support. Please say that we were at Applebee's together on this date and time. Well, whatever, right? And she took that as a response, which is like, if you're a notable person, if you have any kind of following, you do have to kind of be cautious about whatever attention you return to people, because people will take it personally.
Yeah.
And so I think he just answered the fan mail and she was like, good enough for me. And then broke up with Jake. Now, maybe she had other reasons to break up with Jake. I don't know. But this was the reason she gave. So
this would be soul crushing to find out that the chance of getting a letter from someone who's currently looking like they're going to spend the rest of their life behind bars is better than being in a relationship with me. That is heartbreaking.
You seen his jawline though?
I mean, he's going to be, that's fine. Whatever floats your boat.
Now, I know. Look, we can't get into it right now about the case against him and how things might get dismissed, but they're never going to let that go. They're going to try and nail that guy to the wall until he dies.
It sounds like your friend's ex-girlfriend's going to try and nail that guy to the wall every night till he dies.
Look, I feel like there are thousands of women across this country that would try to nail that guy to the wall. This guy's pick of the litter. Anyway, so burned letters, not from Luigi Mangione, from Robert Englund, ?
We never find out. Like, we legit never find out who her stalker is.
But they spell out eventually because, well, they don't do it in the scene.
Yeah, let's save it.
They introduce the drawer of letters. It comes back like 2 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Anyway, she calls Robert Englund, who's like painting, and he's like, I'm sure it's no big deal. It's probably just somebody who like found out the information about the funeral and that's why it's come up again. And she's like, hey, have you been having nightmares about Freddy where he's like darker? And he's like, darker and more evil? No, of course not. But, just a hunch. And then like hangs up the phone because she's like, I want to come see you today. And he's like, maybe tomorrow. Today's not a good time.
I've got some things I got to finish up or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he like hangs up the phone after agreeing to meet her early tomorrow morning, and it reveals the insane painting he's drawing. And I was like, yes.
Giant painting of Freddy.
Fully going crazy. Yes, I love it.
Yes. And he did, because she did ask, like, hey, have you seen the script? And he's like, yeah, Wes told me he'd only gotten as far as Dylan trying to reach God. I don't know what that means. But he told me that at the funeral, which means that, like, Wes Craven knew her kid was almost going to die and didn't tell her.
Well, he also knew she was going to be fine.
See, this is a real Calvinist movie, if you think about it. A lot of predestination going on. A lot of you don't have free will because God knows what you would choose kind of thing.
Yeah, and I was going to bring this up, but it's a lot like that John Candy movie where he had a magic typewriter. And I've brought this movie up before.
You have. I've never seen this movie, but you and Mikey have referenced this movie multiple times.
It's called Delirious, and Paige, I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but I would love to say it's probably a rom-com. Can we do it on Romantic? Because it's truly nuts. It is an insane movie. But the premise of that movie is he like has a magic keyboard and anything he types comes to pass.
Right.
And so this movie is just Wes Craven's Delirious.
Right. Lot less funny. Lot more blood.
You haven't seen Delirious, Paige. You have no idea what John Candy gets into.
That's true. I have no idea. I haven't seen Delirious, but I'm pretty sure it's better than Bowfinger.
It definitely is.
I doubt it. But anyway, we cut to them going to sleep that night, and Dylan gets out of bed. Meanwhile, Nancy/Heather Langenkamp has a nightmare where Freddy like claws through the sheets. She hears silverware dropping, goes downstairs, and downstairs, Dylan has made himself a knife glove, but that is also a nightmare. He is just wandering around the kitchen with Rex saying never sleep again and has spelled the letters out on the floor that say answer the phone.
Yes. And then, of course, the phone rings.
The phone rings, a tongue comes out of it and is like, I touched him. And you're like, oh, God, what? And then he has what I have in my notes as lick seizure.
You mean Dylan has that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, I think it's obviously a callback to a lot of things that happened in the first movie because the tongue through the phone is like a beat that happened in I think it was the first movie. So like there are a lot of callbacks to that, which I liked and I bet a lot of people hated, but I kind of liked. They do another one later with the quicksand stairs.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's like the right way to put it, but it's more or less that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I have it as is in my notes is quicksand stairs.
Yeah, I really liked those beats, but this is also one of those callbacks. But her son does seem to have some sort of a licking seizure.
Yeah. So she finally takes him to a doctor.
Yeah, it's time.
And this doctor is kind of played as a villain a little bit, but from the doctor's perspective in real world, I would absolutely be asking the same questions. 100%. Where she's like, hey, is there a history of epilepsy? Is there trauma? And she's like,
yeah, those questions, yes. The questions I was like, this doctor has no idea what they're doing and they're asking some crazy questions were like, hey, did he say anything right before he passed out? Because it could be a clue that lets us know what ails him. I was like, what? No, he's a 7-year-old.
Right.
Do you think he's going to be like chloroform?
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not how it works, man. Like, what are you talking about, lady?
It's my life's ambition to say something utterly puzzling as I pass out or die, just to keep people guessing forever.
Paige, I swear to God, if you, like, as you're dying, your last words are, Mikey did it, people would lose their minds.
Here's the thing. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I do want to start a wild goose chase where I just want to be like, under the mantle. And just like, whose mantle? What mantle? What's buried there? How do we know? Find the map.
Find the map would drive people insane, Paige.
Well, that's like, did you watch? There's a fucking documentary about a guy who wrote a really not that great poem about like, I buried the treasure this many paces to here, and a bunch of people like went and tried to find it, and they've been trying to find it for years. And then somebody finally found it, and people are like, no, we didn't find it, because they just didn't want the search to be over. I want to cause something like that, where I'll just be like, under the eyes of the snake, and just like, gone.
The secret lies with Charlotte.
Yes, exactly.
That's the one that kicks off the movie National Treasure, by the way.
Fine.
Love it.
If Nicolas Cage wants to look for my treasure, that's fine. Somebody did post on Threads, what were the Queen's last 5 words, and I just put, the corgis are my husbands. But there were better options. A lot of people had Arrested Development memes that just said, I don't care for Charles. And that's my favorite.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's great.
Anyway, she tells the doctor, she's like, his father just passed away. Also, we might be haunted by a demon with a glove. Lots going on.
Yeah, it's been a busy few days.
And she's like, hey, has he been watching some of your horror movies? Which I understand that it's kind of judgmental to ask, but if a child showed up to my emergency room and was like, I'd be like, hey, has he been watching a lot of Friday the 13th?
Right.
Because maybe that's influencing these delusions.
Yeah. And to be fair to the doctor, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise exists in the world we're like seeing, right?
Right.
So like, yeah, okay. So this child, who is the son of the main actress from this franchise, comes in having delusions about the villain from the franchise. I would ask the same question. And I do think it's somewhat medically relevant.
Valid. The kid also has a somnambular disorder and is like, hey, never sleep again. Like, that's the last thing he said before the seizure was never sleep again. So like, you don't think that maybe that's information that we need to know?
I think another piece of information I need to know is, what's a somnambular disorder?
Somnambular disorder is sleepwalking.
Okay.
Like Mike Birbiglia has a somnambular
yeah.
disorder.
Yeah, that does ring a bell because I think he says it in his special about it.
Yeah, son meaning sleep, ambular meaning walking.
Right. Can you guess which one of us went to private school?
Anyway, her kid's all fucked up.
Yeah.
He's not having good sleep. I don't understand why she did not bring Rex to the hospital. I know she probably just didn't think about it in the moment.
Yeah, she is planning to go back and get it. Like, I think she does realize it's also a mistake. He needs it. Let's go get it.
In this scene, no. in this scene, he's like, I want Rex. She's like, Rex is at home. You got to stay here and get better so you can come home to where Rex is. And I'm
True. Yeah.
bring Rex to the hospital. Like, what?
Yeah, but I mean, she also doesn't want him to be there for very long. Like,
Yeah.
I think she's probably planning on bringing him home later tonight.
Hopefully. I think that is an unrealistic assumption for a sleep disorder.
Very, yeah. Like, they're probably going to want to observe him. But, like, when they say that, like, hey, we're going to observe him overnight, she sort of objects to that a little bit. But, like, ma'am, it's a sleep disorder. That's like when the business is.
That's when the sleeping happens.
Yeah.
But he specifically doesn't take it. He makes it looks like he takes the sleeping pills and then spits them out.
Yeah.
We then cut to Heather Langenkamp driving to Wes Craven's house. Thus includes a 10-minute, give or take, montage of actual earthquake footage that they shot during production that they just shoehorn in here as if she's driving to like a mythical castle and meeting the goddess in the story world.
So that is where it falls on the story circles, yeah. And it kind of is, it very much is, but it's Wes Craven. It's not the quote goddess.
Right. And oof magoof this scene where he's basically like, look, turns out Freddy is kind of like a demon thing. We trapped him in the original movies, but contractual obligations with hell. We gotta make more movies. So if you could just stop being a bitch about it and be Nancy again, quit fucking fighting it. Like, what are you doing?
Listen, we don't want to have to kill another one of your loved ones, okay?
Right?
I love this movie.
I don't. But he's like, monsters have always been captured by storytellers. And I was like, ugh, ugh.
I love that the evil already existed and he just captured it. I loved it.
He just captured it. I'm like sitting and watching this at my computer while scrolling through screenplay stuff, just making jerk off motions like, boo, no.
It is one of those it's such a like narcissistic beat in a movie that like, it's so funny to me. And I also kind of love it. Dan Harmon does this kind of stuff with Rick and Morty sometimes, and I also love it in those situations. And I know a lot of people do not like those episodes, but to me, it's so funny. I don't know why, but it's so funny.
I feel like there are more subtle ways to do this that don't come off narcissistic and weird.
Oh, I don't think that they actually mean them in that way. It's just because you have the creator of a thing saying this thing.
Yes.
It comes across in a way I think they don't mean it and or intend. But it's so funny to me.
I think they may not mean it, but that is what it is, where it's like, maybe you do not perceive how narcissistic this is, and that was not your intention, but that is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, this is you tooting your own horn.
Yeah.
Whereas in Scream, there is a very different conversation like this that is more along the lines of like, once you release a story, the audience takes hold of it and it becomes something else.
Yes. And that's a very different and I think very fun premise.
Yes. That's a much better conversation around.
I'll also say this about Wes Craven. At this point, he had been making movies for like 20-ish years, I guess.
Yeah.
And like a lot of them were hits, you know? So like he kind of can be that level of like, listen, I know I am inordinately great at this thing. There are others who are great like me, and we as a team trap evil and save the world in what I'm going to call the Story Vengers, because I can't think of a better name right now. But that's more or less what he's saying, and I love it.
Look, after I did the first nightmare, Nick Fury showed up at my house. Like, that's basically... Here's the thing. I think a more self-aware version of this would camp it up almost like Tom Cruise's character in Tropic Thunder, where he's just an unrepentant asshole.
When they go to New Line, if that character, not necessarily Tom Cruise, you could have another eccentric actor do it.
Yeah.
But like that type of character who's like the studio exec at New Line, I'd have lost my mind. Because this movie is campy. Like, there are campy beats in it, I think.
No.
And I think this one is a little, like, campy for me.
I feel like there's missed opportunities at campy beats.
Well, it's not like John Waters heightened. I get that.
But even then, it's like, this is a moment where you can and should have something campy, and they just don't. It's just Wes Craven talking to the camera, as opposed to someone playing Wes Craven being like, look, I'm not enough of a storyteller to bring something to life. or am I? Like,
He's not, Paige.
Make it nuts.
He's not. He's a good enough storyteller to trap it.
Oh my God. But he, at least make it interesting and fun to explain that. They don't. He just like TED talks to the camera in the most narcissistic way possible.
No notes, Wes. You're a genius.
That's why it's not campy. Camp is aware and is playing on the situation. I feel like he is not aware of how ridiculous this comes off.
Maybe not, but I'm so glad he shot it. I'm so glad it's in the movie because it makes me love it, guys. I love it.
It's so crazy. But he also is like, Keymaster, Gatekeeper, that's you, Nancy. And she's like, it's Heather. Nancy. I called you Nancy. So now it's Nancy.
Right. I named you already. We don't have to go through this. Your name is Nancy. I don't care what your real world name is.
Whatevs. But she then leaves. And we get what I will call a mid-movie recap of a montage of what has already happened in the movie we're watching.
It's almost like we get I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Yes.
But we already knew how they got here.
Because we've been watching it.
Right.
This is where you would start a new movie.
Yes.
And no, we cut to her reading a bunch of books about somnambular disorders.
Oh, Paige.
Yes.
I have to tell you why they did this beat.
Why?
Because Wes Craven walks into his office with her and shows him his computer. And the last line on that computer, because it is the script that he's writing, the last line is fade to black. And it fades to black. And that's the end of the episode.
Right.
And then when it opens up, that's the beginning of the second episode in the series of this movie.
Yeah.
And they just like recap everything.
Everything.
It's not needed at all.
It's not needed. The only thing that we get in this recap is the deaths, the official deaths of the two SFX guys that we never actually saw. We have just, found out, right?
Yes.
But so she's looking through books on the kinds of disorders her son might have and sleep deprivation.
Oh, you mean somnambular disorders? Yeah, I know what those are.
Well, somnambular is just sleepwalking.
Damn it, I was wrong? Shit. Okay, I thought I learned a thing, and now I didn't learn a thing.
Almost. Anyway, there's an earthquake again. It knocks her coffee machine over, but this is where she walks towards the closet because she hears footsteps, and Freddy pops out.
This scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she is watching TV, and earthquake, power goes out, so it's dark now, and it's at night. It's probably not super, super late, but night.
Right.
And so she's creeping over to the sound, and then he pops out of the closet on a very close shot, and the music and the pop out, it scared me. I admit it. It scared me.
Sure. But she immediately wakes up from this. She falls over. She wakes up. She knows it's a dream. She goes immediately to the hospital where she finds Julie, the babysitter, is already there.
Yeah.
Because she also had a nightmare about Dylan being in trouble.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, there's no visiting hours and he's in an oxygen tent for some reason.
I mean, I'm sure that they have a medical reason, right? I don't know. I mean, I have no idea why people used oxygen tents like this back in the day. I don't think it's a technology we still use on this level.
Not on people. We do it on pets.
Yeah, we had to do that for my pup cake.
We had to do that to Dennis back in the day.
Oh, pup cake.
But so she's gotten slashed. They kind of treat the slashes on her arm. And at this point, the doctor's like, hey, your kid was so seriously sleep deprived. I'm worried about you.
Yeah.
What is happening? What's going on in your house? And she's like, yeah, tonight's earthquake. And she's like, we have not had an earthquake. What are you talking about?
And she sets it up before, and by she, I don't mean the doctor, I mean Heather Langenkamp sets it up that they live across the interstate. So really close to the hospital.
Yes.
So even if the epicenter of the earthquake was Heather Langenkamp's house, there's no way at that level the hospital wouldn't have got some quaking,
Oh, yeah.
So this is when they definitively say it's in her mind, guys. This is not actually happening.
Right. And so she falls asleep in Dylan's room. But when he wakes up, she's like, hey, I'm going to go across the freeway to get your dinosaur and then I'll come back. Okay? Great.
Yeah.
Not before having a nightmare of him barfing black stuff all over her.
Which was gross.
Yeah.
And they do try and keep her, because of all of this. And I kind of understood.
Well, and essentially, it gets to a point where they call security and they're like, hey, we need to have you evaluated. We need to have him evaluated.
Yeah, I mean, they don't let her leave to go get that dinosaur. They bring her into a room and question her more or less.
Which, again, if you're a professional in real life and someone came to you like this, that's the appropriate response. You're worried for the welfare of that person and that child. You're trying to establish what's the best thing you can do for them.
I agree, yeah. But I mean, obviously we know that what's happening in the movie is really happening, but it does sound crazy, so I understand why they're treating her as such. But we also, and I kind of like this because the movie needs to, for plot reasons, let other people know that she's not actually crazy, right?
Right.
So that she can go and fight this thing without having to fight them. But the way they reveal it, I kind of hated because as they pull her into this meeting that they're having with like the doctor, but also police officers, you know, it's like
security for the hospital, yeah.
Sure, but it's like there's an implication there, I think.
Yeah.
And the nurses go in and sedate her son, Dylan.
Against her will.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, this is the moment where I was like, oh, damn, Julie's awesome. Like, best babysitter ever because she punches the nurse. I was like, good.
All right, Julie.
Okay. I would have a problem with that, obviously, if they didn't just do something against not just the child's, but also the parents' wishes.
Right.
You know, like, that was shitty.
Yeah, Heather Langenkamp is trying to be like, look, I'm going to pull my kid out, and which in a lot of cases, not all, you can do, but you have to like sign paperwork saying like against medical advice.
She does say that, yeah, and AMAs are a big thing. Like, that happens a lot.
Anyway, essentially, Julie locks the nurses out of the room. But because Dylan falls asleep because he's been sedated, Freddie comes out and murders Julie by basically dragging her up the ceiling, just like that first movie.
Yep.
Which is something you can't explain, right?
Right. And the nurses do open the door as that starts to happen. So they definitively know
Yes.
that Dylan has powers and is killing his babysitter, or like that something is happening that's not normal.
Right. Yeah. Something's happening that's not normal. And it wasn't Heather Langenkamp.
It can't be. Yeah. She is under guard more or less right now.
Right. But Dylan takes off. Heather Langenkamp gets to that room where Julie is dead and they're like, hey, and she's like, hey, where's the kid? And they're like, oh, because none of them kept track. They're like, well, he's sedated. And she's like, he sleepwalks. He can go anywhere, essentially, at this point. So she calls her friend, who's basically the guy who played the dad in the first movie. And she's like, can you meet me at the house?
Yeah, it's John.
John, yeah.
He's not her dad in this movie, but he's just a friend. And the reason I set that up is not to quote a song lyric.
Right.
It's because when he does show up, he's in character as her dad.
Yes.
Because in all of this ruckus, she now has that silver streak in her hair that she had very rogue-esque in the previous one, right?
Right.
That she was in.
And so she chases Dylan out. Dylan tries to walk across the freeway. He does somehow manage to get across unscathed. Heather Langenkamp is not as lucky. She does, as she's trying to cross, get kind of clipped by a car, but she survives magically.
It's an insane stunt, too, because the stunt person gets lifted off the ground and like hits the windshield at a pretty decent clip. Like, it definitely hurt.
So I only know this from knowing stunt people. Allegedly, the windshield is where you want to hit because the safety glass will kind of like cushion your fall.
Yeah.
And so it's like this thing of having to like jump and hit the windshield. And if you miss it wrong and hit the bumper, it like breaks your legs. And it's like a whole thing.
Yeah, it's crazy risky and they crush it in this movie. And it looks real good. It looks real good.
It looks really good. But so she manages to get across the freeway. She gets to her house. Cops hot on her tail because somebody running across the freeway, they call the cops for that.
Yeah, chasing a child who just robbed your pharmacy. Yeah, definitely gonna need to stop those people.
Right.
Both the parent and the child thief of your pharmacy. There's no reason he would have that many sleeping pills at this point in the movie.
Right.
It's insane what he does next.
Who knows? But she gets there, John is there, and she's like, have you seen Dylan? He's like, yeah, he's right there. And she's like, oh my God, Dylan. But Dylan is clearly under the influence. And she's like, I know how Chase died. Fred did it. And Freddie has Dylan, essentially.
Yeah.
And as she's trying to tell John, he's like, what the hell is going on, Nancy? And she's like, why are you calling me Nancy? And he's like, why are you calling me John? And she sees his badge and his gun, and he goes outside and gets into a cop car because his character was a cop back in the day.
I mean, that's his dad is that character, or her dad in the movies is that character. So he's playing the character. Yeah.
Right. And so as he goes to leave, she just says, I love you too, Daddy. And at that point, she's like, I have to be Nancy to save my kid.
Yeah.
So she goes inside. She follows the breadcrumbs that are sleeping pills, takes them, goes through a sheet tunnel of Dreamosil or whatever.
Right.
And then she is basically in Freddy's world, which is the Acropolis.
Which beautiful. I love it. I wish I had known it was that before it's getting destroyed and blown up because, you split his tongue in half and burned him.
I mean, here's where I feel crazy that I'm going to say this. Here's where the movie really starts to fall apart for me, because she's there with a knife. If you're watching this movie, you've seen a bunch of Nightmare movies. This is for people who've seen the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. So you know that there are kind of tricks for how to kill Freddy. You can't just stab him or burn him or anything. He comes back. So, like, the fact that they're stabbing him and, like, reading stuff in the script and it's pretentious as hell. And, like,
I loved it.
Stabbing and then trapping him in the thing. And then she's, like, on the stairs with the quicksand and the, like, pick a pet for the Rugrat.
That's how she's trying to get up to, like, where Dylan is trapped in the fire, like, area.
Along the edge? Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a very big fire pit that he climbs in, and Freddy's trying to grab him. And so, like, as he's doing the long arm extendy thing from the first one,
right,
she is, like, trying to get up the quicksand steps to stab him. So, like,
right,
that sequence that should have taken 20 seconds takes 4 minutes.
So long.
Yeah.
But they trap him in the boiler and turn it all the way up, and he, like, turns into a demon. Again, this wouldn't kill Freddy in any other Nightmare movie. In fact, they've tried it in almost everyone and he don't die. So the fact that it works in this one is bonkers.
Pretty sure it's his origin story, right? Like,
yes.
I think that's why they do it, though.
I think so, but that doesn't make a lot of sense lore-wise.
It doesn't have to, Paige. They're not killing the Freddy in the franchise.
I know.
They're killing the evil that they trapped by creating the Freddy franchise. And I realize that what I just said is insane.
Yeah.
But that is what is happening. None of that matters, unfortunately, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It just makes for an unsatisfying ending where it's essentially like it ended because we said the script ended. And I was like, fuck y'all.
Yep.
Dumb.
Yeah.
But it turns into a demon and we get like a bright explosion. They like jump into a pool. It's very like, close your eyes, Marion, don't look at it. Like that whole thing.
They jump into the pool because that's like the portal home, I think.
I think that's never established, but that does seem to get them home.
Yeah.
They wake up in bed where they have the script and they basically just read the final lines of the script. And I was filled with rage.
I wanted to stand up and clap, Paige. I loved it. And that's the movie. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what did you think about Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
No.
Yes. That's got to be the quickest final thoughts we've ever done. But let me just say this. I don't know what the movie's tagline was, but I wish it had been Heather Langenkamp would do anything to save her son, even star in this sequel. Because that's what the movie's about.
That's basically it.
And I love it for that reason. I have heard a lot of people talk about how they hate this one, or not hate, but like this is one of their least favorite, and I think you're right. But for me, this is one of my faves. This is so funny to me. So Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
Yes.
Well, hit us with your fun facts. Craven, fun facts.
So in this movie, Freddy is depicted closer to what Wes Craven had originally intended for the character, more menacing, less comical, which is true of the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
Fair.
But with an updated attire and appearance. However, in 2015, before his death, Wes Craven would admit that he regretted changing the appearance and said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Which is why he has kept ghost face masks the same in every Scream movie.
Smart.
It's iconic. Same with Jason Voorhees, where, like even though they make small updates to the hockey mask, it's still the hockey mask.
Except for that one where it was a sack.
That's right. The events of this film revolve around Heather Langenkamp having a stalker, which was true in real life. And Wes Craven got her permission to weave it into the story.
Wow, that sucks. Only because I feel sorry for her. Yeah.
The actors who played Rod from Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, Jesu Garcia, and Tuesday Night, who played Kristen from A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the Dream Master, make appearances as themselves in the funeral scene.
What? That's awesome.
Wes Craven is also in the funeral scene as well.
Yes.
He had intended to ask Johnny Depp as well, but never worked up the courage to ask him after the film's release. They ran into each other, and he asked Johnny Depp if he would have made an appearance in the movie, and Johnny Depp said that he would have, and that he should have asked him.
Oh, man. That would have been cool, man. Yeah.
That would have been crazy, yeah. So the television show appearance in this movie is based on a real encounter. According to Wes Craven, Robert Englund and I did an appearance together on a public television channel in San Francisco, and it was about whether or not this kind of movie is bad for children. There were parents in the audience and then kids, and all the kids leaped to their feet and started chanting, "Freddy, Freddy, Freddy," and I remember looking at the show host and the parents, and they all looked horrified, which I think is hilarious.
Love it. I also kind of love it because it's the parents being like, you shouldn't create this filth, when it's also like the kids pointing out that their parents are bad at stopping them from like doing the thing that the parents are mad about being created. So like that to me is very funny because clearly they love it.
Yeah, because they absolutely, and they mention it in the movie where they're like, it's like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows who Freddy is. So in reality, Heather Langenkamp's husband is a special effects professional, I would say.
I think they have a business. I think that's like one of the things she does and one of the reasons she didn't act as much.
Yep. Robert Englund has actually said this is his favorite movie of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
Hell yeah, Robert. Hell yeah.
I think it's because he didn't have to wear the makeup the whole time and got to just be himself.
Yeah, because he's in the makeup about half the time he would be in the normal franchise, right?
He's also not in this movie a lot, to be honest.
Fair.
Yeah, because even Freddy's not in this movie a lot. It's a lot of the glove. It's a lot of hints at it, but they're not visually on screen, not a ton.
Yeah.
In the ending credits, Freddy Krueger is credited as himself and Robert Englund is credited as himself, which I think is kind of funny.
Awesome.
So most of the earthquake sequences in the film were actually filmed 1 month prior to the Northridge quake of 94. The real quake struck only 2 weeks before the end of filming, and subsequently a unit was sent out to film drive-by footage of the actual quake damage areas of the city before the end of filming. The cast and crew believe that the earthquake scenes that were filmed before the quake struck were perhaps a bit overdone. They were. But when viewed after the real quake hit, they were all frightened by the realism of it. It's not realistic at all. Before making this movie, Wes Craven said that he went back and watched all of the Nightmare films, because remember, he didn't make all of them.
Right.
And by the time he was finished, he claimed that he could not follow the storyline at all. Yeah, no shit. He further regards the sequels to be weak compared to his original masterpiece. Sure. Although I do love Dream Warriors.
Of course.
But like, I feel like not watching all of them and expecting a clear, understandable through line is more credence to the not being self-aware of like what these movies are and what they are in the zeitgeist. Because you could still make a good movie after that abandons the storylines or whatever. But to be like, well, all of these were terrible. And I'm like, yeah, dude, they're slashers. Like, this is what this is. Like, what?
I love it because I don't disagree with what you're saying, and it just makes me love it. Like, that's one of the reasons I love it. I love that, like, he was asked to write a movie that, like, followed up on the franchise, but he was like, I don't want to stick to the lore shit, so I'm going to, like, do my own thing. And I loved it.
So, I still don't. But the basic premise of this movie, with Freddy invading the real world and haunting the actors and crew responsible for Nightmare on Elm Street films, was originally intended to be used for Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. And it was inspired by the movie Return to Horror High. It does end up happening in Scream 3.
Yeah, it does.
If you'll remember, that is basically the plot of Scream 3. Wes Craven's daughter, Jessica Craven, is one of the nurses.
Okay. And
Heather Langenkamp's real-life husband, David Leroy Anderson, declined to play himself, but they did give him the option.
I like that. Good for them.
Miko Hughes, who played Dylan, has kept the sewn-up Rex dinosaur since filming. And Wes Craven kept the original copy without the scars, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Miko Hughes was a Freddy fan way before filming, and he would watch them put the makeup on Robert Englund every day.
Every day, God. Because I'm sure that was a long process. Maybe not like 10 hours, but like 3 probably.
I'll end on this last one just because it's a fun connector to some modern horror franchises. So Lin Shaye, who we have actually seen in a number of horror franchises after this, actually appears as a nurse in this movie. She also played a teacher in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, but classic Scream Queen, and those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget for Wes Craven's New Nightmare was?
I mean, because it's Wes Craven and they're getting everybody back and they're getting the gang back together.
And the gang gets to be on screen.
Yeah. I feel like this probably was around like 50 million.
Oh, it's way less, Paige. It was $8 million. Yeah.
8 million?
8 million.
All those people deserved more money. But sure, $8 million. Good for them.
Now, the movie came out October 14th, 1994, which I will admit is prime time for this kind of movie. It was number 3 the weekend it came out. It was beat by Pulp Fiction,
Good.
that also premiered this weekend. The number 2 movie was The Specialist, that had premiered the weekend before. Obviously, Wes Craven's New Nightmare was number 3. The River Wild was number 4. And Little Giants was number 5. What do you think Wes Craven's New Nightmare made in its opening weekend?
It probably makes at least 12.
Okay, it was $6.66 million. And I'm saying that because it was, yes, 666 with a comma in between $1 million in its opening weekend, which was not a marketing stunt. I'm sure they wished it had done better, but it was in theaters for another 15 weeks because it was the 90s and like not a ton of movies came out.
Yeah.
But it was never again in the top 5 and it was only in the top 10 for the first 3 weeks. So it didn't do amazing in its initial run, but what do you think it made in that domestic run?
I'm going to say that this probably makes 19.
That's very close, Paige. It was $18 million, just over it. So if you adjust for inflation, that's roughly $39.3 million today. So this movie definitely made money, but it didn't make as much as I'm sure that they hoped, and it didn't make as much as some of the other films, which I can tell you, just if you look at worldwide box office, not necessarily adjusted for inflation, so keep that in mind. But this is the way they rank worldwide box office. It's the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street, then Freddy vs. Jason, then 4, then 3, then Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and then A Nightmare on Elm Street, and then A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child.
I think that was 6.
And then Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. And then Wes Craven's New Nightmare is at the very bottom. So yeah, this movie has currently done the worst, unfortunately. And of course, it's my fave. Anyway, Paige, that's your box office. Do you want to hit us with that scary scale?
Sure. Our scary scale is a scale of how scary we found this movie when we watched it today, with 1 being Ghostbusters and 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd.
I think it would be irresponsible for me to give this a 1, although I don't think it's very scary, but only because I did say that there was that one jump scare that got me. So I'm going to give it a 2, but just know it's not that scary.
This is a 1 for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's your scary scale. Hey, Todd, do you have any reviews for us?
I do. This week, I'm going to read a Spotify comment from our most recent weapons episode, which we did get quite a few comments on. Someone actually in the comments referred to Gladys in the movie as Grandma Chaperone or something like that. And I was like,
oh, no.
oh, that's
Oh, look what you done.
that's very
You're
funny.
a stick breaking girl and the kids on the run. Oh, mama, I'm just drinking soup.
Guys, if the kids chasing after Gladys at the end was in slow motion set to that, like, so funny.
Drink Campbell's Club. I'm gonna keep on running in the. Oh my God, just Naruto running to it.
So funny.
Wait, as they Naruto run, just HOTTOGO. They're just like across the lawn. Oh, incredible.
So I am going to read this one from M. Martini, and they say, gonna ask please and thank you for the exact wiener stew recipe. Thank you for the awesome episode as always.
Ooh.
Do you have a wiener stew recipe you're prepared to share, Paige?
Sure, yeah, no, I this is one that I know from my memory.
Of course.
Here's the thing, there's variations to it. My dad and mom make it different. My sister makes it different. I make it different. Here's the way I make it.
Everyone's wiener stew is a little bit different. I think people get that. Yeah, any mature person understands. Yeah.
It's genetic. But so peeled potatoes, boil them till they're fork tender. You can chop them before, you can chop them after. If you have an Instapot, sometimes we've just thrown them in there and mashed them up after. I usually brown my hot dogs first. I cut them into tiny slices and brown them, and then add them to the potatoes with tomato sauce, a little bit of water. And by tomato sauce, I mean like the canned stuff, not pasta sauce.
Right.
And then I season it with, I usually use fresh garlic, sometimes basil if I have it. If not, just dried Italian herbs, garlic, salt, onion, you get it.
Yeah.
Salt, pepper, etc. And then you let it cook down until it basically thickens. Coats the back of the spoon, you get it. Whatevs. And then I usually top mine with cheddar cheese, because like a chili.
That sounds way better.
It's real good. My husband will sometimes do mustard. My dad's a big fan of mustard.
Love mustard.
My dad and mom will also usually add onions to theirs and cook onions down with the hot dogs and stuff. But yeah, weenie stew. It was basically because my grandma was super poor and had 3 boys that she was raising on her own in the 70s and was like, how do I feed them for the least amount of money possible? Enter
Weenie stew. It sounds delicious, though.
It's pretty good. It's the perfect rainy day food.
M. Martini was not the only one to ask, but M. Martini, thank you for that comment. And One Green Queen, thank you so much for saying your comment. I appreciate that. I just read that one too. But if you want to have me read your Spotify comment or a 5-star Apple review, leave us one of those things and I'll do just that. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast. Some might call it a sister podcast called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back, and I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it weenie stewy.
Have an amazing week, guys. Bye! All I can think about now is delicious weenie stew, nerds.